The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone!
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just
gonna dance with me?
That music.
Do you think that you could repeat?
Gonna post some Methuen sound off before we actually start the show.
Listen more attentively.
Listen to some Melvin Taylor as we do some on-air production. You would think by now I'd have all this stuff ready, but
I know. What's wrong with you?
being the sketchy journalist that I am, you know.
People love this anyway, the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil Perry's got it as his ringtone for me when I call him. How funny is that? I really like that guy. Which pisses off a lot of people. Which makes me like him even more.
He works with my nephews at Raytheon.
Oh, yeah?
And they love him. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Hi, how you guys doing? Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi, it's Top Two Guys Smoke Shop here at Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. Sketchy journalist Tom Duggan. I don't know if you saw that in the Tribune this week. Somebody called in a sound off article. You know, it's funny. They started that sound off thing in the Tribune like 30 years ago. It didn't make sense then. And it doesn't make sense now. Why you would allow members of the public to hide behind anonymity to throw cheap shots at people in a newspaper without putting their name on it? It violates everything journalism is supposed to be. Yet the Tribune keeps doing it.
It's not journalism; it's entertainment.
Well,
I used to love reading those.
Yeah, people like it, but it's not really anything. It's people. Now, if you want to put your name on it, that'd be one thing. Right, so somebody posted a thing on Sound Off in the Tribune this week that they're all upset that Neil Perry has a weekly show with Tom Duggan in Salem, New Hampshire. Like, you know, driving 5 feet over the line, that makes it totally corrupt now, right? And instead of being on quote MCTV3, he's on with that sketchy journalist Tom Duggan. Over there. They didn't say my name though, because the Tribune will never use my name. They said the sketchy journalist. And then what was the other complaint in that sad little thing? The Methuen Police Superior Officers Union is sponsoring the show, and he has to negotiate with them. I mean, you're talking about utter ignorance. The Methuen Police Superior Officers Union sponsors my show.
Right.
They're not giving money to Neil Perry. They're giving money to me to sponsor my show. And for those of you who have a hard time with that and think that they do that because I'm in their pocket and all this other stuff that, like, you know, Saber and McCarty like to tell people, the bottom line on that is I'm the only journalist in the Merrimack Valley who is told the friggin' truth when it comes to this police superior officer's contract. The Tribune lied through their teeth in every single story they've written about how much money they were supposed to make on that contract. They took numbers from Tom Kelly that they knew were wrong or should have known were wrong, and they published them anyway. And, you know, I went and actually looked for like real numbers,
right,
and published real numbers, or at least as close as we could get to them. And I'm not skewing my story pro-police or anti-police, and they appreciate that. They appreciate that there's somebody out here that's not a Tim Wood, that's not out there looking to make them look bad, who's not, you know, spewing propaganda pretending that it's news. They just want someone who's going to tell the truth, and they appreciate that we do that. So, I mean, this has nothing to do with Neil Perry. Neil Perry is a guest on my show once a month, and they sponsor my show, and he makes no money out of this. So this is the typical baloney that you get after every election. The people that didn't vote for the person that got in start sniping about every little petty thing, and they purposely try to mislead people to believe something's going on that isn't going on. Because they hate the guy so much, they want everyone else to hate the guy that much. And we saw it with Zanny, we saw it with Manzi, we saw it with Rivera and Lawrence, we see it with Trump. I mean, you know, there are some people that think, you know, I mean, Trump crossed the street and he didn't use the crosswalk, he's going to be impeached. So, I mean, let's just dial everything back, people. The election is over, Mr. Saber. The election is over. All the people who hated Neil Perry all the people who voted against Neil Perry, the election's over. Let's now try to move on and hope that Neil Perry's administration coming in can do something good for the city. Even the likes of, what's his name in the West End, the guy that I'm always giving a hard time to, the guy that lost, Bill Bryant.
Oh.
Even Bill Bryant was asked by Neil Perry to be on one of his committees, one of his ad hoc committees, and said yes because he wants to help make Methuen move forward. But you've always got that. Listen, Neil Perry won by 71% of the vote. That means 29% of the people out there are going to be the loudest voices against him for the next 2 years. But let's everybody remember, they're 29% of the vote. So at the end of the day, all the sniping and the carping about Jane and Dina Talley's going to take a job and all this other stuff, which we're going to get to tonight. Let's just remember one thing. Let's just remember they lost. It was 29% of the vote that holds that view. A small percentage of that 29% is going to cry and whine and pick on every petty thing that they can. Steve Saber's going to orchestrate all of his things, have his brother get up there like he did this week. We'll talk about that too. And try to make it difficult and throw roadblocks in Neil Perry's way. I say whether Jen Kinane had won or Neil Perry had won, I'd be saying the same thing. It's a new administration. Everybody try to get along. Everybody see what the new administration can do. And then if they do something wrong, then you call them on the carpet for it. Now, we've got a guest today, and we'll talk about our sponsors in a second, but we've got a guest today who's really good at calling people out.
One of our most popular guests.
She was not only one of our most popular guests, but she helped us get the highest ratings of any debate ever when she was debating for the Central District, and we were very, very sad to see her lose that race. Joyce Campagnone is with us. The Methuen City Councilor Joyce Campagnone is with us.
And good afternoon,
Joyce. I have to tell you, I'm not, I'm not in the habit of kissing people's asses, but I have to tell you, I've been watching you on the Methuen political scene for about 25 years. There is nobody in Methuen who cares more about our veterans, who has volunteered more of her time to help our veterans, who goes down and runs bean suppers and doesn't get paid for it and volunteers to do turkey cheers for them and goes down to the VFW, the American Legion, and helps them out. And that's one of the reasons why I love Joyce Campagnone, even though we don't always agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I enjoy doing it from the bottom of my heart because those people deserve to be recognized. That's why our country's, we're free today, as free as we want to be. Mm-hmm. And because of people like from the veterans, whether it's the VFW, American Legion, the Marine Corps, wherever, they fought for us to make it free, our country free, for our stability in our lives. So you can't forget them, and they should be always recognized. And that's the way I feel because my husband's family went through a big loss.
Your husband's family, I don't think most people realize it. They were the Campagnone brothers, right?
Right.
The three brothers that died.
Got killed in World War II.
Right, three brothers, they died.
Right.
And because of that, they actually changed the rules for enlistments that brothers can't serve, the members of the immediate family can't serve together like on the same ship and all that. And there's actually been books written about it.
Yes.
Right.
There was the movie.
Right, yeah.
Ryan's...
Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, the TV channels came down to our house to go over paperwork that we had,
Oh, that's
and
great.
the pictures and all the paper clips, paper clippings that we had, and the telegrams that we had from the president and senators, and then they named the common in Lawrence after
right, the Campagnone Common, right.
So it was a big...
So now how is your husband related to them? Is it
that's his uncles?
Okay, his uncles.
His dad's brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. And his dad was in the service at the time.
Oh, no kidding.
And they had to...
What branch?
Army.
We won't hold that against him.
No. In fact...
I'm a little partial to the Navy and the Marines myself, but we won't hold that against him.
And I believe at that time it was Senator Lane that fought to try to find my father-in-law at the time.
Wow.
To get him home because of the three brothers had got killed.
So you've been sitting on the city council now. You were running for your third term, right? Or your second term? What were you running for? You were running for your second term.
In the Central District.
But you've been on the city council. You were on the school committee.
Right.
You were at large. You were at East District councilor.
Right.
And then weren't you on the Volk School board at one point? No, all right. I think you've been on every board in the city, right?
Not that one.
And one of the things that angers a lot of people in Methuen, and they keep calling for term limits, is because they don't want the same people bouncing from board to board to board. However, a lot of the times that you ran, I went back and I looked up some of the election results. A lot of the times that you ran basically unopposed.
Yes.
And when people complain about term limits and complain about the same people bouncing from board to board, they're not considering the fact that so few people are running for these jobs.
Well, this past election, I believe it was on the vocational school that there wasn't enough running, that they had there was write-ins.
Sticker campaigns, yeah.
Sticker.
And Jessica Finicaro herself won a seat on that board running on stickers, right?
Yeah.
So there's so few people that are running for these jobs. Like, term limit sounds good, but when you look at the pool of talent that's running for these jobs, or the lack of talent that's running for these jobs, the lack of people running for these jobs, and you start imposing term limits, you end up having empty seats. Even forget the vote, look at the Methuen School Committee.
Yes.
With all of the controversy over the last 2 years about Judy Scannell and the $4 million, you had 5 people running for 6 seats. That's a disgrace.
Yeah.
And then you add term limits on top of it. You're basically disqualifying good people who might want to serve simply because they've been there for a random amount of time. Right. So I'm glad that you are someone who has stepped up and served, although I have not always agreed with you.
Likewise,
there are times
it's a two-way street.
There's been times when I'm watching the meetings live on my podcast and I'm screaming and throwing crumpled pieces of paper at the TV.
And I know.
What is she doing over there? Was she crazy? But I know that what you're doing is it comes from the heart, and you truly, unlike some people, you truly are trying to do what you believe is right. And you're not trying to screw people, but like you're not manipulating things to be against the person because they're the ones that made the motion. Just kind of, there were times when you were with the Jujuga administration, when you thought they were right. There were times when you were very much against what they were trying to do because you thought that they were wrong.
Yeah.
And there were times when you thought Jen Campagnone was doing a great job and you voted with her. And other times when you didn't really hold that opinion and you voted against what she wanted. And so how has it been for you going through all of this turmoil, especially the last 2 years? The police contract, the school $4 million in the red, the lying about how much money is or isn't in the school budget. All of these things, like you took office and it was just like mayhem from the second you took in.
It was, and I was not part of the police contract, even though I had some of my opponents saying that I voted on it. Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know how they thought I voted on it, but so be it. I know in my heart and in my mind, and I know the majority of the people out there knew that I wasn't on there, so how could I have voted? And I just think it was very unfortunate that happened, and I'm grateful to the people that stepped up to the plate to put the brakes on so we could sit down and try to resolve this. Not that it's resolved yet, the police, but hopefully it will be. And I have faith in the administration that, something will come of it. And I had faith in our last administration that I was part of. But we were not given the opportunity to, every time we try to sit down, there was always chaos or something.
Right. Now, at one point, Councilor Finicaro wanted to, I love her so much, she wanted to have some kind of a working group between the police and the mayor's office and the council. And the other councilors said no. What did you think about that?
No, I wanted that.
You wanted that.
Because at one time I was the chairman, Jen Campagnone, had me sit in on the police negotiations as a representative. And we tried, but it wasn't, I didn't have a vote on it, so it wasn't up to me. But I think that would have helped greatly if we did sit down at the table.
Mm-hmm. And now, what do you think overall about this police contract? It was a debacle from day one.
I think we should have started from square one.
Yeah, and just throw everything out and sit down again.
Right, if that was possible, because you have to follow with the unions also. Right. So, and I would think and hope that the unions would have agreed. And at one time I thought they did, and then it just fell apart.
Right.
So I still have faith that something will, come about.
Well, we have some breaking news for those who are watching us live.
Yeah.
And I got a text just before we went online, which is one of the reasons why we were a little late, that the city of Methuen, the Jujuga administration has asked for another postponement They were supposed to have arbitration 2 days ago or 3 days ago, whatever it was, because I never sleep. I have no idea what day it is anymore. And they asked for a postponement. It's going to be March, I think, 10th, 11th, and 12th, which now pushes it into the Perry administration. Now it gives Neil Perry an opportunity to now take this bull by the horns between January when he takes office and the time it goes to arbitration to maybe settle it so we don't have to go that route.
But in all due respect to Mayor-elect Perry, he's coming in and getting this, dumped on him.
Right.
And I don't mean that sarcastically dumped, but this administration that's going out has all the information, has all, documentation. Not saying that Neil won't.
Right.
But it's just too bad that this administration in the police department could not come to an agreement before the end of the year.
I agree.
And I just feel bad
But this administration really has done nothing for the last 2 years. I mean, really, they've done so little. I shouldn't say nothing. I'm sure they did something.
Yeah.
But
the police contract, that's important.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that money-wise. I mean that with the people out there, that they need to know that the police are there, they're being, they're doing their job, they're supporting and securing our community. So I would never want the people to think that because there's no contract in that the police aren't doing their job.
Right.
They most certainly are. And it's something that's very important, just like with the fire department. School department, you can't let those departments fall apart.
Right.
That's the, the security of your community.
Right.
So I just think it's something that it's too bad that it's gone on this long. And again, if you don't mind, Tom,
No, listen, it's your show for the next hour.
I was not on that committee, even though some people that ran in this
we don't want to say
election,
we don't want to say which DJ Deeb that was. But
no, that I was there, but I was not. And I wish I was there. Maybe I could have put some input. I'm not saying I could have resolved the whole thing.
You probably would have actually read the contract.
Yeah.
Before you voted on it. And
right.
I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that none of those councilors read the contract. I don't care what they say. None of them read the contract. Because if they'd read the contract, they would have read what I read, which is that the stacking provisions were there. They were in that contract.
And in all due respect, you had some councilors that could not talk about it or discuss it.
Right.
So in all due respect to those councilors, you can't put them in the mix.
But they did vote on it.
No,
they did.
No, I
because of the
know.
rule of necessity.
Right, and that's another thing. But
so if you're going to vote on it, you need to read what you're voting on.
Yeah.
I sat on the school committee in Lawrence, and I can't tell you how many times I voted no or present because they buried us with 30 pages of a document before a meeting. And I said, I don't have time to read this now. I'm going to have a meeting starts in 20 minutes. So I'd vote no or I'd vote present. But they all voted yes. And they didn't have to vote yes. They could have voted no or present.
Right.
But they still voted yes, and they didn't read it. And I think if you had been there, you probably would have read it.
Yeah, either that I would charter objected.
Charter objected again. She loves to charter object. I was screaming one night when you charter objected, the night that they were trying to force Tom Kelly to give the names of the councilors that he spoke to. And I think they were about to maybe get the names, and you jumped up and charter objected. I was so mad.
No.
Because I really wanted those names. We still want those names.
But let me tell you, those names were never brought up to the floor or anything.
Right.
It was hearsay, Tom.
Right.
So would you want me to throw your name out there if there was no truth to it?
Well, if it was true, yes.
Yeah, all right, but who was going to say that it was
Tom Kelly was going to say the 3 councils he spoke to.
2.
Or the 2 councils. I still think it was 3, but okay, we'll go with 2.
Yes. One time it was 2, one time it was 3. You're right.
But you weren't that. He never told you.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I still think when that happened and you charter objected, I was so mad because as a member of the public and a member of the press, I want transparency.
But I
want to know
who
those councilors were.
I wanted to double check to make sure before we threw someone's name out there into the mix.
So who were the 3 councilors? You can tell us. We won't tell anybody.
Oh, yeah, it's on the radio. I don't care. I believe, I'll tell you who I believe it was.
Please do.
It was Jamie Atkinson.
Yep.
fountain.
Yeah.
And I understand someone did say after that George Kazanjian was in there.
Right.
I don't know if that's true, and that's why. I mean, who am I to throw someone's name out there?
Right.
But those are the 3 names that were out there. And my thing is, you can't blame somebody for something if you don't know if it's true.
Right.
So, but those were the 3
But Tom
names.
Kelly could have come forward and said who those 3 people, or 2 or 3 people were. And, you know, the fact that he hid behind, and it was so bogus legally.
He gave his word. So, I mean, his word, if it was you, you'd say, well, thank God he didn't give my name out there.
Right.
So the guy was trying to be keeping his word that he would not give those names out. I mean, it's over with now, so so be it.
We still want to know, though.
No, and I just told you.
Right.
But anyhow, in all due respect to Tom, if someone told me something, and it wasn't done in a meeting, it wasn't done part of, negotiations of anything. It was out of conversation.
Right.
So that's another factor.
But don't you realize? Don't you think that he's a public employee? He works for the public. The councilors are public employees. They work for the public. If a public employee tells his bosses, the public employees, something, and it turns out
but it wasn't part of a negotiation. It was just out of, they weren't even in town hall, okay? Let me say that to you. But it never should have come out. If you're not going to finish the story, don't start it.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you.
Oh, boy.
Why, you didn't think I'd agree with? No. I mean, I understand where Tom was coming from.
Yeah.
Because
I think he should have been fired. I think he should have been fired on the spot. When your boss orders you to do something and you refuse to do it, I own a newspaper. If I say to one of my drivers, listen, I need a list of all the extra stops that you made this week, and he says, no, I'm not going to give it to you, you're effing fired. I mean, you work for me. I gave you a directive and you said no, you're out the door. And this guy got a platinum parachute and he never complied with what the council wanted.
On this issue, because it wasn't part of a council. I mean, anyone can make the fight either way,
Right.
But just like with you, if I asked you something, you said, oh, no, I was told in strict confidence.
Right.
Really?
No, you're right. Listen, I'm in the business of keeping secrets.
So am I going to listen to your show, or am I going to go out there and try to destroy you because you won't tell me the truth?
Right. You would never do that.
No, I'm just saying.
Look at all these nice cookies that she brought me, and she put a little bow on. You know how much time it must have taken her to put this bow on?
I didn't. No, I didn't. The bakery did.
So I'm trying to give her credit,
but I'm not going to take it unless it's due me.
That's what I love about Joyce. Joyce is the best. I want to thank our advertisers, Climate Design Systems. We love Nina over at Climate Design Systems. If you have a HVAC need, now that it's getting really cold, you might have a heating problem, give Climate Design Systems a call. AFC Urgent Care in Methuen and North Andover. We love Lisa Williams. She does an awful lot for the community. And if you're not feeling well, don't go to Holy Fatal. Don't go to Holy Family. Wait 4 hours at the emergency room, especially since they threw out the Valley Patriot. We used to deliver there. They threw us out. And so now.
Oh, you must have done something wrong.
No, they threw all the newspapers out. They said,
really?
We don't have the staff to go around and pick them up when people leave them around. I'm like, you do employ janitors, right? And they're like, oh, well, it's just the way we want it. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. So they've never done anything for us anyway at Holy Family. So we love AFC Urgent Care. She does so much for us, and she does a lot for the kids in the community. Marcoux Towing, our buddy Jason Marcoux was at the TMF family dinner last night for the homeless and donated hot chocolate and keeps begging me not to thank him publicly because he says, that's not why I do it. That's why we want to thank. That's why you want to thank someone publicly.
Good family.
I always want to thank people who are doing things and don't want the credit. The Police Superior Officers Union, who sponsors this show, not Neil Perry, for those of you who read the Tribune. Hopefully, we'll be able to have that straightened out in January, February with the new mayor. McLennan and Company, Century 21. We love them. Buy a house from these people. They help us. They do a lot for the community.
They do.
And of course, Marsan and Son Construction contractors. If now that again, it's winter time, you might have problems with your roof. You might need to put in insulation. Give them a call. We'd appreciate that.
And excuse me, Tom.
Yes,
talk
dear.
about someone that loves the veterans.
Ronnie Marsan and his wife are the best.
He'll
Diane's
do
awesome.
anything for the veterans. Him and his wife in his business.
He should have run for mayor. He should have run for mayor.
He's always there for the veterans. Also,
I'm hoping that Ronnie's going to run in the East End in 2 years and run against Steve Saber and kick his ass. That's what I'm hoping. Because listen, I supported Steve Saber when he first ran.
Yeah.
We all thought, because I worked at Bishop's, I knew the Saber family, I knew the Bashara family, and I thought, and this is a guy who's a small businessman. He's a conservative. I think he's a Republican, but if not, he's at least a conservative. And I talked to him a couple of times when he first ran, and I thought, not only is this guy going to be a good counselor, but in a few years, this guy could be a great mayor. And then he spent the last 2 years just being an obstructionist and orchestrating all these fake scandals, having his brother get up at city council meetings and trying to lay the groundwork so he could do. Come on, please, we're not dumb. We know what's going on. And all the stuff with
he's an honest guy, Steve. He has his beliefs and we have ours.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Tom.
All right. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't think any worse of you for being wrong. But
I didn't say I was wrong.
I said you were wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, all right. Well, listen.
Who are we to judge people?
I'm a member of the press. It's my job. My job is to judge people. That's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Do you want us to judge you? Come on now.
Listen, I get judged every day. Pick up the Tribune, listen to Tim Wood, listen to what Saber says behind my back. The difference is I say publicly what I think about Steve Saber. He says it behind my back. He doesn't have the balls to come on this show and say it to my face.
That?
Oh, absolutely. Well, listen, this political game is a very small business. There's a very few number of people that are involved in it. I've got friends that are friends with him. I have friends that are friends with McCarty. I have friends that are friends with DJ Deeb, DJ Berger. We all have mutual friends. Even if we don't like each other, we still have mutual friends. I hear everything. I know exactly what he says about me behind my back. I know exactly what I'll give Jim McCarty credit for one thing. He says it to my face. He's not someone that says to my face, Tom, you're a great guy. I love the paper. And then behind my back cuts me up. He tells me to my face what he thinks. Even though I don't like what he's saying, I truly admire that he's got the balls to say. Anybody. Listen, I'm all for transparency. The guy says to my face, Steve Saber doesn't do it. And that whole thing with him trying to have my show taken off the air and everything else, that was as far as I was good. He had a lot of balls to show up here during the mayor's debate after he tried to have my show taken off the air. I mean, he's taking advantage. He comes in to take advantage of the entertainment that I'm providing on a show he tried to have stopped. So I mean, to me that takes a lot of balls if you ask me. You're not in a good way either.
It's a free country.
Was it? Absolutely. Absolutely. He's free to hate me.
No, I'm saying in your show, you're free to have your show.
Right.
Whatever way you feel fit.
Sure, and he's free to listen. He's free to not like me. That's fine with me.
It's America.
My beef is have the balls to come on and say it to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't hide what I feel about anybody. I say what I think. And
you always have.
Yeah, and some people love it and some people hate it, but at least you know where I'm coming from at all times.
Yeah.
Nobody ever has to wonder, I wonder what Tom thinks of that. Because, just go on Facebook. And
Tom, I love it. It's entertaining.
It is entertaining, right?
But so few people will just say what they think.
Yeah. So we have an issue that has come up, Joyce.
Yes.
And it came up because you're still on the council now for at least another couple of weeks. And that is Steve Saber had his brother get up, and Mr. Heffernan, who worked on his campaign or was a campaign supporter, got up and started in a vague way. They didn't want to mention the name because they didn't want to be transparent about anything. But what they were complaining about was the rumor that Jana DiNatale, who sits on the school committee, she didn't run for re-election, so in January she's off, that she might become the new chief of staff for the incoming mayor, Neil Perry. And because they can't just let the election go, they're complaining and they're trying to throw roadblocks in Neil's way by saying that the charter doesn't allow someone to go from the school committee to be chief of staff of the mayor, that there's a 1-year cooling off period. But I actually have the charter here, and I also have here, and I'd love to have your view on this, I also have here an opinion by formerly Kopelman and Page. They had to change their name because they were involved in all kinds of scurrilous stuff. Now they're KP Law. In my opinion, this is from Darren Klein of KP Law to Mr. Perry, and thank you to the person who shared this with me. It was not Mr. Perry. You've requested a legal opinion regarding whether or not school committee members whose term is expiring in December of 2019 could be appointed to the mayor's chief of staff effective January 2020. In my opinion, an individual whose term on the school committee has expired can then be appointed as the mayor's chief of staff, and further that the 1 year employment appointment prohibition, the cooling off period, only applies to city positions that fall under the jurisdiction of the school committee. For example, she couldn't take a job as a school administrator, a teacher, a paraprofessional, etc. Quote, since the mayor's chief of staff is not under the jurisdiction of the school committee, an individual could be appointed to such position once their term in the school committee expires. Now, that's the way I read the charter,
Right.
because the purpose of this law is you don't want someone in the school committee, like what happened with the city council with Atkinson and Fountain.
Right.
You don't want them creating a job for themselves and then taking the job, right? And so she's going from the school committee to being not on the school committee, not an elected official, to being the mayor's chief of staff, and you've got guys like Jim McCarty in the Tribune calling that corruption. I'm a little confused as to how that's corrupt.
Well, I know what you're saying, what's in the charter, but
shouldn't the mayor be able to have who he wants?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I would think,
She's much less animated on this than when we were off the air.
No. What I feel is he should be able to have who he wants in there, but we all should have to follow the same rules.
Right.
So what you said about Fountain and Jamie Atkinson, they sent in for a home rule petition.
Right.
So maybe Neil could do the same thing. Okay.
Well, he doesn't have to, because according to the charter, it says she's not getting a job in the schools.
Right. She's getting a job in his office, and
it's not a created job.
No,
it's a job that still exists, right?
No, I know. And take the names away, and maybe people should look at it as he's the mayor, and he should be able to bring in who he wants to be his second in command.
Right.
You want someone that you can trust, that knows the job, and that knows, the ins and outs, going to be courteous to the people, and be there, very responsive.
Right.
So, it's not a city job. It is a city job.
Right. You're getting paid by the city.
But it's city. But you're in the mayor's office under his discretion.
And the minute he's gone, you're gone too. It's not like you stick around for the next mayor. It's
like
not
the others are still here.
It's not like a union job, right? Where you where you're vested
you're
and everything
only
else.
there until as long as he's there, you're there.
Right.
Unless he wants.
So why do you think that the councilors, and I was so baffled by this, because I'm watching the meeting and you were sitting there. Why do you think the councilors would address something that A, was only a rumor, B, was not on the agenda? I mean,
we were told he was going to come to address the council, and from what I heard, he was told not to come. So our chairman was good enough to put it out there for us for discussion, so we'd know, because she thought he was going to be there. Right. So, in all due respect to her, she was only trying to.
Well, it was brought up. It was brought up by Steve Saber's brother, who got up at public participation.
But this was before we knew. I mean, the chairman had been notified, so she was waiting for him to show up at the meeting. So, honest to God, that's the truth.
I just don't understand why they talked about something that was only a rumor, that was not on the agenda.
No, she was asked to put it on there to discuss it.
But it wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't physically on the agenda.
We were going to amend the agenda to put it there because she was asked to. So she was only trying to fulfill their request, and then no one showed up.
Right.
So, in all due respect to her, Tom, that's.
Well, I'm not blaming Jen. I'm blaming the whole council. I'm blaming the whole council.
That we were told. That's why
Hamilton was the only one that said, "Wait a minute, this is a rumor. It's not on the agenda. Why are we even talking about?"
Because she got an email saying to put it there. Mm. So, in all due respect to our
do we know
chairman,
who that email came from? I'd like to know that.
She would. I would contact the chairman.
I think she's probably mad at me. I don't think she'd want to talk to me at this point.
No, well, I'm sure she'd want to.
I love Jen Campagnone, but I'm not too sure she loves me.
Yeah, but Jen doesn't like it when people are out there not saying the truth. She wants the truth to be known.
Right.
So
that's the one thing that I've always liked about Jen.
She wants the truth to be known, and she was asked for that. So that I will tell you.
I think whether Neil Perry hires Di Natale or he doesn't, it should be up to him. The law is very clear. I don't know where Ricky D'Agostino got that opinion that he put out. I don't.
Through the state.
I've known him since I was 12 years old. He's one of the guys that I've always tried to protect, and I don't understand why he went that way. because you
Well,
don't
he
need
has to say what the state said to him.
right. Well,
That was the answer he got.
right. But
So
when I
no-
spoke to the state, they said the exact opposite.
Well, yeah, listen, I've dealt with the state, and I'm sure you have too. You could talk to the same person 15 minutes apart, and you're going to get two different answers. So let's not go there.
I'm still trying to figure out how Jim McCarty gets corruption, and that's what he said in the Tribune. And I'm just gonna give the Tribune the benefit of the doubt. They get his quote right.
Corruption on what?
That if Jana DiNatale takes this job, it just furthers the corruption. And I'm like, well, where's the corruption? She's on the school committee. She's going to be the mayor's chief of staff.
She would corrupt anything.
Right, and she's a lawyer now. You're calling her integrity into question as a lawyer. That's some dicey stuff, I think. You know?
Yeah, I don't. Maybe he just used the wrong word.
I just wish that Jim McCarty's kind of a funny guy. You want to like him so much because you watch him, and 50% of the time he's dead on right. Like sometimes he says stuff, and you go, I don't want to like what he just said, but he's totally right. And then the other 50% of the time, it's just political bullshit, and you just go, like, you want to like him, and then he does that, and you go, ah. So, he
does do his homework.
He does and he's a smart kid.
Yeah,
he's a very smart kid, and I think he's probably going to go.
Yeah.
He's going to go very far in this business. I think someday he'll run for state senate, state representative. He'll probably win. He's a very smart kid. I want to like him. There's parts of me that won't let me like him, but I really want to, and I'm hoping that's going to change. I'm hoping that's going to. But
he's not going to sway his thoughts for anybody.
I don't know. I think he sways his thoughts a lot for Steve Saber, but that's just my take.
Oh, no, I disagree with that.
I think he and Steve they orchestrate things together far too much. But let's see what happens.
We'll keep an eye on it. But I don't agree with that. I'd
like to see when the new council takes office and the new mayor takes office. I'd love to see Jim McCarty, when he thinks Neil Perry's right about something, just vote yes.
Yeah.
And when he thinks he's wrong about something, just vote no, and not be throwing roadblocks out and not playing games, political games. And if I see that, then he'll end up with, we do our heroes and bozos of the year at the end of every year. He'll get a hero for next year. We were hoping he was going to write for us, and we offered him to write for us because he has constantly told people that we're not fair in the Valley Patriot, and I'm nothing if I'm not fair. And I approached him and said, look, if you think I'm not fair, if you think I'm only telling one side, why don't you write your own column?
Yeah.
We won't change a word of what you write. If it's too long, we'll send it back to you. You can change it so it says what you want it to say, and you can get your message out, and then the Valley Patriot will be hopefully fair in your eyes that we're getting your side out of the other side. And he has respectfully declined. So I don't want to hear any more crying about the fact that the Valley Patriot's not fair when you were given the opportunity to do that. Yeah. That's all.
I understand. I agree.
Who are you going to miss the most? You've been on the school committee and the city council and all this, and you've kind of stepped out now. You're stepping out now. Who are you going to miss the most? Seems like you and George had a really good relationship.
Oh, we did. You mean council?
Yeah.
I'm going to miss the interaction with my constituents.
Yeah.
Like when
I'm sure they're still going to call you, though.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I would never hang up on them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll always be there to try to help them.
You know what I'm amazed at is that I call very few people at home, but I don't think you have a cell phone, so I have your home number. And I call, and you're always there. Like your husband or you always pick up the phone, and I say, can I talk to Joyce? Yep, she's right here. And I get you right on the phone. Other people I've got to call their cell phones 5 times and send them 20 messages, text messages, and then maybe a couple days later I get a phone call back. You're always like right there.
My husband's the best secretary. Writes everything down, the numbers, and he makes sure I call. That I call.
But I've never called you and had you not be there, which I think is great. So
no, I just enjoy, and you know what? The pay is not. That's another issue.
The pay is nothing.
But it's the accomplishments that mean so much. When you accomplish getting someone's street paved or sewage installed for them or snow removal, to me, that's a better pay.
The constituent services stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you ever think of running for something higher? Would you ever think of running for like state rep or mayor or state senate or? Never too old. Are you kidding? Donald Trump's in his 70s. What are you? You're 51, right?
Yeah, right.
The prettiest woman on the city council. I
enjoy helping the people. I really do.
Yeah.
And they deserve it. Because sometimes they don't know who to call or what department, and so they need a little guidance.
What is one of your proudest accomplishments besides the constituent services stuff? What do you think having been on the school committee, the city council a couple times, bouncing
Getting
back
our
and forth.
schools renovated.
Yeah.
Building the CGS school. Oh, yeah, that was in the library. We renovated the library.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are big accomplishments.
What are some of the things that you're not going to miss?
The criticism.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll try to be better about that.
Yeah, because someone, they'll say, like you take a vote and they don't agree, and that's fine. Not everyone's going to agree.
Right.
I mean, And
but you never seem to take anything personal. When someone votes against one of your proposals or whatever,
right.
you tend to not take it personal.
That's their prerogative.
And you tend not to make it personal, too, which I think is good.
I feel we leave the business of the community at the desk, and after the adjournment, we get up, and we can still be friends out.
Right.
Although
I have to say, in fairness, though, I watched every meeting, and when Jessica's talking, you're rolling your eyes and you're giving her dirty looks, and I'm like, do these two not like each other? I'm wondering.
Oh, no. She's a lovely, lovely person, Jessica, and I mean that. I really do. My thing is, Jessica will go to the extreme as far as I can ask you a question and you're going to give the answer.
Right.
She's going to ask the same question, but only she wants it more in detail, like dot the I's, cross the T's. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but some of the discussion, it's not for the floor, if you know what I mean. Go into the office, if it's with the mayor, DPW, or whatever, and sit down with the person and iron this out. Don't bring it to the meeting unless you've gone to the office and stuff and nothing's being done. Then I say put it out on the floor. She's very particular on what kind of an answer she gets, and that's her prerogative.
Right.
But when I'm rolling the eyes at something, it's only like, well, we're going to be here till 2 in the morning.
I got to watch Wheel of Fortune.
No. It's like I've been there until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning on with the old.
And that's got to be tough because you missed Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
Listen, I got elected to represent the people, and that comes first.
Right.
So
now, do you DVR or VCR the Wheel of Fortune and all that? All your shows? No. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, I know. So I'm going to give you a hard time, too.
I love that. I love that.
Really. I think everyone, whenever you get sick of Tom, unplug your computer.
Well, that's right. Just turn it off. Just stop listening to me.
I hit delete.
A lot of people have done that. So now you worked for the last 2 years. You worked on the city council, and you had to deal with a mayor who, when he did show up, was yelling and screaming and pounding his fist. And then after that, I
told him to take his lollipops and go home. That's all.
And then he did. He stopped showing up and he stopped answering questions.
Right.
What was it like working with the Duggan administration for the last 2 years? Was it really as tough as it looked?
Well, I'm going to tell you. No, I have to say Paul Fahey, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
Really. And I felt bad for him at times because, myself included, we could be attacking him, but he's not the mayor.
Right, he's really the mayor.
So he's getting the punches for someone that's sitting at home.
Right.
And I didn't think that was fair.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I wanted Jimmy there so I could attack him.
Yeah, I wanted him there too because I wanted to watch you attack him, and then I could take the clips and bring him into my show.
But you know what? I could argue with him on that, and once we left the floor, you have to respect the position.
Right.
You do. And very smart man.
Fahey or?
Both, really.
Okay.
But the mayor had his own way of thinking and doing things, and sometimes I didn't agree with that. The people wanted and should have the answers to their questions, and to me, that's number one. The constituents are the ones that are moving this city forward.
Right.
I know administration, elected officials are, but the constituents are the ones that are paying most of the bills.
Right.
So,
With the separation of powers, the council has certain powers, the mayor's office has certain powers. Was it frustrating for you that sometimes councilors would try to micromanage?
Yes.
I mean, I watched those meetings sometimes.
Not even just this council. I'm talking about previous councils.
Yeah.
And they were always trying to micromanage.
Right.
I don't think that's right.
At one point, I actually had to defend Jim Duggan, believe it or not.
Not even the mayor.
Right.
But I'm talking about DPW, I'm talking about the school department, the accounting department. They wanted their nose in everything and micromanage. Well, why do we have these people there?
Right.
Now you're saying you know more than the ones in charge.
Right. The council is supposed to be part-time legislators.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to be interfering with the day-to-day operations.
Right.
And as much as I didn't like Jim Jajuga as mayor, there were times when I was forced to I actually had to write an editorial defending him because certain councilors were blaming him for stuff that they themselves had done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. These councilors, they're the ones that did this. Like with the Santa parade, they cut the money for the Santa parade, and then they were trying to blame Jim Jajuga for having no police for the Santa parade, or that there was going to have no police for the Santa parade. It actually ended up happening. And I'm sitting there going, son of a bitch, I now have to defend Jim Jajuga, and I did because that's my job, right? But it's awfully frustrating to watch part-time councilors. It happens in every community, Lawrence, Methuen,
absolutely,
and watch the micromanaging. And it's just so. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with the new council.
It will.
You think so? It's just the nature of the job, right? Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So we have about 15 minutes left. So that's good. Talk about some of the things that while you've been on the council and bounced from different committees, some of the things that have come up that you wish you could have resolved, or things that you wish you could have gotten accomplished that you didn't, just for whatever reason, didn't get a chance to do.
The whole thing is with the budgets. It's nice to have all the money you need, but it's just impossible.
Right.
And trying to put the most important things first, well, there's always differences there. What's more important? So,
how about just cut the school department budget in half and give all that money to the cops? Because that's what I would do.
No, you can't.
Look, I'm probably the only person in the world who thinks these guys deserve the $350,000 that the Tribune pretended that they did. Can we take a break? Can we take? You want to take like a 30-second break? Do you still have that Perez funeral home ad ready? We're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to come back for the last 15 minutes of the show. Here on the Paying Attention podcast. I want to thank our sponsors, AFC Urgent Care, where I had them here a second ago, Marsan and Son Construction, Methuen Police Superior Officers Union, Climate Design Systems, and McLennan and Company Century 21. We'll be back in about 30 seconds here on Paying Attention on the Paying Attention podcast. Hi, Top 2 Guys Smoke Shop here at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. If while I'm driving around Lawrence, I get shot and killed, make sure you get my body to Perez Funeral Home, because we do business with the people who do business with us. And he's on South Broadway, where it's the old Scott Funeral Home. If you're an old-time Lawrence resident, it's the old Scott Funeral Home on South Broadway. Perez Funeral Home at 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. They do crematory services. They do all the stuff that they're supposed to do, right? And Mike's a big fan of the show. He followed us when we go live. He's an advertiser now in the print edition of the paper, and he's now sponsoring this program. Perez Funeral Home and Crematory Services, 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. We appreciate him.
The following was recorded in front of a...
Alrighty. All right. Well,
how you been?
Well, welcome back. Joyce Campagnone had to run to the little girl's room, so we only had like 10 minutes left. I was hoping she could hold it, but she couldn't. So she'll be back with us in a couple of seconds. One of the things I like about Joyce is that she just blurts out whatever she's thinking, which is awesome. She definitely had, and we tried really hard. I tried really hard to pull some audio clips of Joyce during the debates.
She had some of the best lines.
She absolutely did. The best line of all the debates was when DJ Deeb said to her, Joyce, do you believe in raising taxes? And she said, no. Well, it's a general question. And he said, well, then how come you voted twice to increase taxes? Because we had to pay for your school bill. and we're roaring here when he's going, that's not true. But it doesn't matter if it's true. It was such a great line.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point.
So I'm sad that Joyce didn't win. She is leaving the city council come January. She was defeated by Jim McCarty, who topped the ticket in that central district, and Joel Ferretra, who won, I think, by like 18 votes. Yeah. And one of the things people don't understand about math when it comes to elections is that the number is never the number. So what do I mean by that? It means if Joel wins by 18 votes, that means he really won by 10. Because if you take 10 votes away from him and you give it to the other person, he loses by 1 vote. So it's always half plus 1. Right. So you you win by 18, you really only won by 10.
Yep.
Because if 10 people swap over, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that was a very close race, and DJ Deeb was the guy who's in third, and Joyce was kind of far behind, a little further behind DJ Deeb. But, 30 to 40 votes sway in a different direction, and Joyce is on the council, and Joel Ferretra's the guy on the outside. 11 votes or 10 votes, and DJ Deeb is sitting on the city council, and not Joel Ferretra. So every vote does count, and there's so few people take an interest to go out and actually do the voting.
Yeah,
actually show up to vote,
especially in local elections. That's where they count the most, right? If I vote presidential in Massachusetts,
but you're throwing your vote away.
It doesn't even matter,
right? Yeah, because if you're voting for a Republican, and you're just throwing your vote away, right? Because they get all the electors.
And whether I vote for a Democrat or not, that's the way it's going.
Right, that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. You're welcome. So that's the end of the show. Thanks for coming. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. So we were just talking about how it was a very close election for you, Joyce, and just pull that up. It was a very close election for you, and had 10 to 20 people voted in a different direction, you'd be still sitting on the city council.
Right.
Would you ever think about running again, or are you all done with all this foolishness?
I don't know. I would.
We'd love to have you run again.
Well, I mean, there were so many. And, some of my opponents thinking, enough's enough. She's too old. She's been there too long.
Bullshit.
My thing
Excuse my French, but age means nothing.
That's what I say. Look at our president.
Elizabeth Warren's in her 70s. Donald Trump's in his 70s. Come on.
Oh, I know it. My thing is, I've always enjoyed representing the people. And I don't have anyone working for the city. I don't have any employee that's related to me on the city. So it isn't that I'm trying to protect someone's position, because I'm not. I just want the people to have a voice out there.
It's too bad that we didn't have the foresight and have you, instead of run for re-election on the council, to run for that open seat on the school committee. Because I'm still reeling from the fact that you had all this controversy in the schools, and then nobody ran.
I know.
It's almost like the people of Methuen just don't give a shit.
But look at Bob Vogler, because of term limits.
Right.
All right? If anyone cared, I mean, Bob was there for how many years?
I know. I'm not a big fan of Bob's, though.
No, listen. He would tell you the way it is.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. Whether you liked it or not.
Right.
But he represented the kids.
Yeah.
He did.
And the insiders. That was my big issue. Is he protected the insiders. I don't like people who protect the insiders. So would you think about running for school committee? Would you think about running for council again? We'd love to have you. Yeah. We need a Joyce Campagnone on the scene, not just for entertainment value, but because I was saying while you were gone, sometimes you just blurt stuff out, whereas everybody else kind of carefully crafts their message to make it sound ambiguous, to make it sound like they're really with you when they're really not with you. And you're just very straightforward, and I love that.
Because the people that I spoke with and, conversed with, wanted to know things up front. They didn't want, don't dance around it or, use these words that we don't understand.
Right.
Just tell us in our own language.
Sure. And make it easy for the people at home to understand who don't know the pretty language of politics.
No, and there's a lot of senior citizens, and not to signal them out, but not everybody has computers and that at home. they rely on the TV and the meetings and the news that comes on the TV or the newspaper.
Right.
No matter which newspaper it should be.
It should be the Valley Patriot.
Valley Patriot. You always get the truth there.
Right.
Always. And it's both sides. Whether Tom agrees or not agree, it's in print.
I try very, very hard to represent the other side in my paper if I have a particular view. As evidenced by the fact that I offered Jim McCarty an opportunity to write for us. I know most of what he would write would probably be the opposite of what I think, which is why I wanted him.
Yeah.
I want people to pick up my paper and read as many different diverse opinions as possible.
Right.
I mean, I'm socially very conservative. We've got a lesbian that writes for us, who writes a lesbian column.
So what's wrong with that?
Who writes a lesbian column.
They're American.
Right. And I have people calling me saying, wait a minute, Tom, I thought you were conservative on the social issues on gay marriage and this and that. I am. But she has an opposite opinion. I want her view in the paper.
They have a right to breathe and walk and eat and talk. Really.
And have a column in the Valley Patriot.
Exactly.
Whether I agree with it or not. And most of the time she writes stuff I don't agree with.
Yeah.
And people will call me and say, how can you let her do this? You must agree with her. I'm like, no, actually, I don't agree with her. My job as a publisher is not to publish opinions that I agree with. It's to publish as many different views as I can and let the people decide.
And no two people agree on everything.
Right, that's true. Listen, I don't agree with my mother on everything, right? I mean, I'm sure you don't agree with your husband on everything.
No, that's true.
Right, so...
And my kids don't agree with me on everything.
I bet.
And I bet you didn't as a child.
No, are you kidding me? I was the first Republican in my entire family ever. I remember the day that I signed up to vote, my mom says at the kitchen table, so there's another Democrat in the family. And I said, yeah, not so fast. And she said... They just call me TJ.
Yeah.
TJ, she says with this disappointment. She said, you didn't sign up to be an independent. The only people in the middle are roadkill. I mean, you have to take a side. And I said, I did. I signed up as a Republican, and a hush came over the room. You were born a Democrat, and you will die a Democrat, she says. You were born a Catholic, and you will die a Catholic. And here I am neither. Right? Converted to Judaism, and now I'm a Republican. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah. People don't always agree, even within families.
No, but you know what?
But you still go to coffee afterwards. You still love each other. And there's too much of that in this political culture now where people who don't agree with each other, I was talking about this on the Political TNT show earlier today, why does Donald Trump have to be Hitler? Why can't you just say I don't agree with him? Why does he have to be an evil ogre? Why can't you just say I don't like his policies? And we've personalized so much. And we see this with, the people who didn't like Neil Perry who are now trying to throw roadblocks in his way. How about just wait till he does something wrong if you don't like him and then go after him for what he does wrong? Don't manufacture a scandal.
No, but sometimes, in all due respect, Tom, it's not the candidate. It's sometimes the people behind them.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm not just saying that for Neil Perry.
No, you're right.
I'm talking about all candidates throughout the states.
Right. I agree with you.
So
I agree.
The candidate gets blamed for everything that happens in his party.
Right.
So
yeah,
that goes without saying.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
So we've got about 5 minutes left, and I want to give you an opportunity to thank. I watched as the councilors all thanked each other and talked about, how it was great to be on the outgoing councilors.
Right.
And what I didn't hear from most of them was thanking the voters who put them there.
Oh, I did.
I know you did. And so I want to give you an opportunity to thank, but not just the voters, but the people who supported you, the people who helped you.
I couldn't thank the voters enough and the people that helped me. My biggest supporter, my husband.
I thought you were going to say me. See, now here I was thinking.
My husband was out there in morning, noon, and night. Doing the signs.
How long have you guys been married?
50 years this year. And it was 50 years in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
50 years.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have 3 children, 2 which lives here, and my daughter lives out in Vegas. So.
No, she as beautiful as you are. She must be.
Oh, yeah.
She must be.
Tom, I have to say this, and I'm going to say it publicly. I have 2 adopted children.
Okay.
My daughter's adopted, and my son, Steven's adopted. And my husband and I were very fortunate to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And after 10 years, we had a child of our own, my son Anthony. So God's been very good to us, and that's why, I want to be good to the people that I can be.
Right.
And I'll never forget that. We were very fortunate to have the family we did.
Now,
and very grateful.
Now, we're going to have our annual bash, as we have every year.
Yes, you do.
You haven't been to the last couple. I was very hurt that you didn't come. But I know that there was probably a bean supper that night or something that you had to get to.
No, that's when last year Steve was in the hospital. You're bad.
I'm
2
sorry.
years ago, it was the cystic fibrosis bean supper, which my granddaughter
So now
has.
it's March 27th. We want to have you there.
Okay.
And we'd love to have you. Even if I have to give you a free ticket out of pocket, we need to have you there.
Oh, listen, I would never take a free ticket from Tom Duggan, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that wouldn't because he'd never let us forget it. No.
She's not wrong about that.
He would put it in his column tomorrow.
She's not wrong about that either. But we want to have you there. I think
and it's always a great time. Anyone listening, really, you can't miss it. Honest to God, you go full boat. You really do.
We do.
And it's a great time.
It is.
And it's at the
Fireman's Relief
on Market Street in Lawrence.
March 27th. And we were looking forward to having you there. And if for some reason you can't come, please let me know. And we'll find a way to Skype you in or something because we want you to be there.
And I'll try my best. I'm going to write it down.
All right.
The 27th?
All right. Maybe we'll even have something for her or something.
Oh, no. You'll probably have a cold water bucket or something. No,
we just wanted it because we know she likes to buy all those raffle tickets. That's
You're going to have a raffle, Tom.
Yeah, we have raffles of 50-50s. We do everything.
Really?
And the money goes to either Veterans Northeast Outreach or some of the groups that we work with, TMF. Who did we give for scholarships last year?
Scholarships come in handy for our students, really. It really does.
We do our scholarship. One of our scholarships we used to give to a kid from Lawrence High School, and we would go through all the applications and we would pick them. And then a couple of years ago, we had a veteran, Gene Smith, great guy, Korean War veteran, said, I want to kick in the first $1,000 for your Lawrence High scholarship, but I only want it to go to a kid in junior ROTC. Oh. And we looked at each other and said, why weren't we doing that all along?
Yeah.
Because those are the kids that really, they really need it, they really use it, and they'll benefit the most from it.
Right.
So now our Lawrence High scholarship goes to our ROTC kids. So.
And now, did you do anything out of Methuen?
We didn't do anything out of Methuen last year because the president of the union did not get back to us. When Arthur Hardy was president of the union, we tried to reach out to him. He wanted no part of it for whatever reason. So we're hoping
the
now.
police union?
Yeah. So we're hoping that this year we're going to have the unions are going to be with us, and they're going to what we do. I know we're a little over.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. What we've done with the. We do every scholarship different.
Yeah.
So what we said for the Methuen, because people always say, well, can you do Methuen? Can you do Methuen? And it's such a busy program. And we said, well, I'll tell you what. We called the unions and said, you guys give scholarships every year, and you just mail them out a check.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys come to our bash and present your check there?
Right.
And then that way we can take pictures and we can put it in the paper and the families with you guys and all that. So they did that for 2 years. And then when Arthur Hardy became president of the union, he wanted just no part of it. So now that hopefully he's gone, we'll be able to work with the unions again, and we'll be able to have at least one, maybe two kids from Methuen get a scholarship this year.
That'd be great, really.
That'd be awesome.
Let me know what I can do to help.
Absolutely. And Jessica Finicaro, in full disclosure, she helps us. She picks the kid who gets the Greater Lawrence Vogue Scholarship, and she always gives it toward a Methuen kid.
Right.
So there are Methuen kids getting scholarships at our event. We want the police to be involved too because they do great stuff, and we want to highlight that.
And what about the fire department?
Fire department, we're gonna have to talk to them. We'll see if we can't get them on board.
Let me know.
All right, maybe we'll task you with that. You can call the fire department for us, see if they can get
the police.
And the police, right?
I will.
All right.
Anything you need.
We love you, Joyce. It was so sad that you're leaving.
Yeah,
I was rooting for you. After those debates, I was rooting for you so hard. Me and Tom Troy, and we had people out there holding signs.
He's another one. You have to give him so much credit, Tom Troy and his sister and all his workers. Yeah. They're great. Yeah. And I hope they call on me if they ever need anything.
I'm sure they will.
I
sure
mean
they
that,
will.
really.
Thank
you so much for having me here.
You're welcome.
And call me back anytime.
We're going to have her on a regular basis.
And I want my constituents up there. You'll always be my constituents. Keep my number handy. You can always call me. and I'll try to help you out the best I can.
Excellent. Thank you, Joyce Campagnone. Thank you to our sponsors, Climate Design Systems, AFC Urgent Care, Marcoux Towing, Police Superior Officers Union in Methuen, McLennan and Company Real Estate. Buy a house from those people. They help us. And Ron Marsan and Son Construction.
And can I say Merry Christmas and Happy and Healthy New Year to all the listeners out there. And keep listening to Tom.
Thank you. Melvin Taylor says we got to go home, so go home already. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.